Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR, the Ohio Patriot. For today's episode, we're going to do a TV series review, specifically reviewing the first episode of the new Yellowstone spinoff, 1923, and what I thought of it. So, I actually watched this show twice now, once by myself and once with family. And I gotta say, it wasn't bad. However, there is definitely a storyline in this series that is shoehorned the fuck in there and had no business being part of this series at all, dude. That storyline being the Native American slash Indian school that they show in the series. Now, granted, it might make sense down the line, 2, 3, 4 episodes from now and stuff like that, but as it stands right now, with just this first episode, just the way that they inserted it in, even the way they inserted it in just made no sense because you have like a good flowing storyline to start out with in the series where you essentially have like this ranch war, whatever we're going to call it there, between cattle farmers and sheep herders and stuff like that. And you have basically what amounts to two storylines up to that point because you have that main storyline, which is set around the Dutton family versus like these different sheep herder dudes from various countries and stuff like that, the Highlands and all that stuff like that, Scotland, whatever it is. And then you have a secondary storyline with one of, I think it was the son or nephew or something of the one dude who is in Africa hunting big cats. And both of those storylines are interesting, right? Because they both make sense, and especially how they're interweaving up to that point. What doesn't make sense is you're showing both of those storylines, and then suddenly you just take a huge fucking left turn into nothingness, and it's just like this random fucking Irish nun bitching out this fucking Indian girl about soap and shit. And I'm just like, what the fuck? It doesn't even make any sense, dude. And I swear to fucking God, dude, this entire storyline was put in there just like how Tyler Sheridan does everything with the main Yellowstone series, and it's essentially trying to do white guilt on people, dude. That's all it is. That's all it is at the end of the day. Because if you ever watch the actual Yellowstone series, and this is something that some dude I was talking with, it was a black dude who I am on panels with on a regular basis and stuff like that, mentioned it the other day after one of the chats, and because we were talking about this a couple weeks ago, whatever the case be, about Yellowstone and stuff like that, and I was mentioning about, like, Monica Dutton specifically, her storyline in the original series and stuff like that. And now she's just not a good actress, or at least that part is not, written well and stuff like that. And she just comes off like a major cunt and stuff like that should have been essentially killed off seasons ago is what it was. And he brought up the fact of like, it seems like every time they show Native American people in that series, it's like every single fucking scene that they're in, every single one, they're sitting there trying to blame the white man for their fucking problems. And I feel like this is almost like the beginning of that is what it is, dude. It's like, oh, well, now we're explaining why they're blaming the white man for everything in the main series or some shit. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, that doesn't even make any sense. It makes zero fucking sense. Like, you could have just cut that shit out entirely and had a way better fucking series, dude. You don't gotta go shoehorning in shit. And the worst thing is, okay, right? So you have these chicks, and this is what I thought was weird too. Like, I understand that, like, back in those days, when they had the whole reservations being created, and it was like these schools for the Native American kids to learn like English and stuff like that. But the problem is with this particular school, it seems like it's just a bunch of chicks. It's like women only. And then there's like a whole scene with two of the Indian chicks basically talking back and forth in their native language is what it is, about like husbands and their cousins and fucking friends and stuff like that that have already left the school and they're not getting letters from them and stuff. And it's like, honestly, what's funny is going to that part of that storyline, the other chick that was talking to this main girl, if there had been a sex scene between the two of them where they just started making out and stuff like that, dude, and mind you, like, I hate the whole, like, push, but it seems like this gay agenda push we have going on in our society and stuff like that. But this is like the one time in history I'd actually give it a pass because it would have made sense there. Because you have these chicks like in a fucking big ass, essentially bedroom is what it is, because it's just like a big dormitory area, whatever, with a bunch of beds there, and they're just like talking to each other. It's like, oh yeah, girl, I'm all with you, and like it would have made so much sense if they just started kissing, honestly, dude. And nothing happened. That it just ended, and I'm just like, that was just a waste. Like that was a total fucking waste, dude. Like again, it would have actually made it would have almost made sense too, like storyline wise, because you shoehorned in this storyline if these chicks are actually gay, if they're actually lesbians or at least bisexual or whatever the case be. But because you did not show that, now I'm just sitting here like, why don't I just fast forward through this shit then? Like that's what it is to me. It's like essentially if I was watching this live and stuff, these would be the bathroom break segments of a fucking show, dude. Where you're like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, whatever the case be, and it's like people are like, okay, cool, and you're like, let me know if anything happens, and then you come back like 5-10 minutes later, and you're like, anything happened? No, it's just a random scene. It should have been cut, is what it is, dude. And that's the thing. Like it does like honestly, the only thing it really does is it essentially shows the brutality, I guess, is what it would be, of like the forced segregation or not forced segregation, the forced assimilation of Native Americans into, I guess, what would be considered white culture at that point. I'm not sure. But then what's even more stupid about it is then you have a priest in one of the scenes who is rapping the fucking knuckles of the nun. And it's like, what? And then he starts beating the Native American girl who wants him to stop beating the fucking nun. And I'm just like, the hell, bro? Like, again, it makes zero fucking sense. It makes zero fucking sense unless the entire purpose of it is to basically push, like, white guilt on white people in this country in modern day society. And I almost think that's what it is, honestly, in most cases, dude. And again, it's one of these things where it's like, you can fuck off with that shit, Tyler Sheridan, because I'm kind of sick and tired of it, dude. And that's the one thing about even the Yellowstone series now, dude, in season, I think it's 5 right now is what it's in right now. Even this current season is starting to piss me off of the main series, because it's like, there was a point where it made sense to have like sort of like, the political background kind of shit going on or whatever, where it's, a dude fighting for his ranch and his way of life and stuff like that. It's a whole other story arc where you have the motherfucker now becoming governor in the actual like current season and stuff. And it's kind of stupid, honestly, dude. Like it's unnecessary and dumb, and then you have like a bunch of other stupid shit going on there. And yeah, like it's just ridiculous in general is what it is, dude. But then you have, like I said, with 1923, you actually have 2 good storylines out of the 3, which is obviously the main storylines of the Dutton family. You have legitimately, basically the patriarch there in Harrison Ford's character, and you have the matriarch in Helen Mirren, who actually is a really good job in the show right now, dude. Especially with how they open the series with her and like some dude having a fucking gun battle. Like that was fucking cool. But my thing is, even with that stuff, it's basically a situation of, okay, you have that, and then you have like I said, I think it might be their son or it might be like their grandson. I'm not sure which one it is. But basically, you have the dude over in Africa hunting these big cats and stuff like that. And that, again, is an interesting storyline because, you can because you have that, you can start bringing in, sort of the diversity and stuff like that without being forced is what it is, because essentially you're going to have black characters in there and stuff like that because, it would be the dude's guides and stuff like that, or like the people that are helping him hunt these big cats and shit like that are the natives of that country and stuff. So, like, that would have made enough sense, honestly, for those 2 storylines because you have, all you really need right there is what it is, dude. Like, I don't understand what's up with this 3rd storyline that was so shoehorned in. It just completely drags down the show entirely. And I even talked to my mom about that when she was watching it with me the second time. And because we were watching it at that point, and she's like, okay, this is getting pretty good. And then it like, it was like 15, 20 minutes in, whatever at that point. And it flipped to that storyline of like the Native American school, and she's like, "Wait, what the fuck's going on?" And was confused as shit about like why this storyline is even here either. And I'm like, I know, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're just like shoehorning shit in here. And she even said the same thing. She's like, this just feels like it's being like inserted into another show, honestly. And it kind of reminds me of something else that happened back in the day. There was a series on Netflix called V Wars. It had the guy from Vampire Diaries in it, and Laura Vandervoot, who played Supergirl in the Smallville series. And for the first like 3 or 4 episodes of that show, it was basically that Ann Somerhalder guy as a doctor, and it made sense. It was flowing all good and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, like it was like 3 or 4 episodes in, you have her randomly show up in it, and then throughout the rest of the series, you have all these scenes with him and shit doing his thing, and then you have like random ass inserted scenes with her in it doing all kinds of shit as like a vampire now, and they're never together on screen ever until like the very last episode of the show. And then you basically have what looks like it was, oh, we had like a 6 episode series here with the main guy storyline. And then we realized, oh, we needed some filler here. So let's just throw this chick in here is what it is now. And film other shit with her after the fact of the initial like principal filming or whatever. And that's almost what it feels like with this 1923 series so far. It's like you have these two storylines of the range war and the African big cat hunting that are obviously man-eaters and stuff like that. And then you have this third weird-ass storyline inserted about like a Native American school for some reason. And like I said, unless they're gonna like somehow like build it up to where they sort of circle it around into like one of the main story arcs, which my opinion personally is like, if they're gonna do that, it better be the fucking one with the Dutton family that's currently here in America. Because if not, like, it makes no sense, dude. And I could even see it being like the one chick in it, potentially being that Thomas Rainwater guy, the one from the main series. That's the tribal chief dude or whatever. I could see this woman being like his mother or grandmother, honestly. And that would make sense to me. And if they actually like, had inserted it in that sort of way so people would have understood that to begin with, like it would have made a hell of a lot more sense to have that third storyline in there. But because they haven't done that yet, if at all, if they're actually going to do it at all throughout the series, or if it's just going to be some weird fucking storyline there, it makes no sense currently. It's just like, why is this random shit why are these random ass scenes being inserted in here? And then what's even weirder is there's like a scene of the fucking nuns at that school who are like telling these girls to like get in these little bathtubs, which are essentially the old school ones where you would have like it's like a big metal fucking container basically that you're sitting in as your quote unquote bathtub. And then they're like, okay, take the washcloth and put the soap in it and then wash yourselves and stuff. It's like really fucking weird. And then they're like, okay, inspection time. And it's like, the fuck? Like, it makes no sense. Number one. And number two, like, that almost feels like it would have been the time for like, some of these chicks are obviously of age, like 18, 19, 20, whatever. That would have almost been the time to be like, okay, here's like a random nude scene or something and nothing. And I'm just like, so it's all for naught then, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense again. Like, it's just like, what the fuck? Like, why are you showing me these random ass fucking scenes here, Tyler Sheridan? Like, it literally, like, it almost seems like it was like the guy was like high or something when he wrote the fucking storyline, if that be the case. Like, even he doesn't know what the fuck he's going for at this point, honestly, dude. Or if he does, like, he sure as shit didn't get the point across the right way in this fucking first episode is what it is, dude. Like, it would have honestly made sense, truthfully speaking, if they had particularly done the first episode where it was the two Dutton storylines, and then episode 2, like, half of it would be like this Native American school, and then it like equates back into something with the main storylines of the Dutton family and stuff. Like, that would have made sense then, I think, if they had taken more time and done like actually like more stuff there. But then you just like shoehorn some random scenes in like the first episode here to like extend the length of it or something. I don't know. And it makes no sense then. And if you cut that out entirely, like, are you even missing anything? I don't think so. Seriously. If I went back and watched it a third time now, and I specifically just watched the rest of it, and I cut out all that storyline from that, school there, like all the school scenes and stuff, dude, it wouldn't detract from anything else, dude. It wouldn't add anything to the thing. It wouldn't take away anything from the thing. Because truthfully, besides that, like the entire rest of the series feels like an actual show together. This piece of it, though, feels very much inserted, and it doesn't make any sense at all. It just feels like what it feels like to me, honestly, is it feels like forced diversity, which I cannot fucking stand, dude, at all in anything when it comes to TV, movies, any of it from Hollywood, dude. And that's my biggest issue right there. It's one thing if it's like a free-flowing thing, or here's another thing as well, too, by the way. If it had been explained that the nun at the school beating this girl's fucking hands and stuff because you couldn't tell, like, what the ingredients of a piece of soap were is what it was, like, it would have made sense at that point if it had turned out that nun was, like, the daughter of, like, the main Dutton chick who is played by Helen Mirren. Like, if that had been the case, that would have actually made sense. If they had explained that as it being the connection or something, dude, like, that would have made total fucking sense then, and I would have been like, oh, okay. But again, as far as I'm aware, no connection at all. No connection to all that family. It's just some random chick as a fucking nun is what it is, dude. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, okay, how the fuck does any of this, like, correlate to the rest of this show that I'm watching that is not shoehorned stuff of it in there? And as far as I can tell, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't make any sense, dude. It makes zero logical sense for those actual scenes to be in that series right now, dude. So, I don't know. I guess we'll find out on, I think it's January 1st when the second episode hits, because they're obviously not going to do it on Christmas Day is what it is. I'm hoping more is explained, because, like I said, right now, it just feels like there's definitely, like, some serious shit missing right now. And I have no idea if it's, like, an actual, like, linchpin or whatever, or if it's just their, whole thing itself. Like, they don't understand how the fuck do they because I'm wondering if it's this, honestly. I'm wondering if it's that Tyler Sheridan's done so much in this universe that he wasn't even sure how to insert the shit in there, and he's just like, okay, let's just have it in there then. And they're like, how are we going to put it in there? And then he's like, I don't care, just put it in there. And so they just, like, figured out, like, okay, we had this scene, this scene, this scene, and this scene. Okay, now we're going to go to the school and stuff. And then it's like, people are like, what the fuck? Because that's what it feels like, dude. It literally is like what the hell is this? Like, did I change channels? Am I watching a different show now? Like, what the shit, dude? Because it doesn't make any sense. Like, it does not flow into the rest of the series is what it is. It doesn't flow to the rest of the series, and it doesn't flow back out to the rest of the series either, for that matter. Like, there's zero flow of any of those scenes. It just feels like it's a whole nother fucking series that was added into this series is what it is, dude. Like, honestly, if they had made, like, a fourth series that was called, like, Yellowstone, The Tribes, or something like that, or, like, yeah, actually, that would probably be good. Probably be a good name for it, like The Tribes or something, or whatever I forget what the actual reservation land is called there. Like, if it had just been, like, The Res or something like that, like Yellowstone, The Reservation, or something like that. Like, that would have made sense, honestly, because it would have been, like, the pilot for that then, But the fact that it's not, and it's, like, randomly inserted in this show, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on here? This makes no sense. And I feel like, honestly, there's going to be a lot of other people out there that feel the same exact way, dude. That there is definitely the shoehorn storyline in this series that, if you're just watching episode 1, which is all we have available right now, it just feels like super weird and doesn't make any sense. And like I said, I'm honestly hoping that I can make an update to this at some point in the future, to where it's like, okay, watched episode 2 or watched episode 3, like, now it's starting to make sense because here's the connection between, like, this and that and this and that kind of thing or whatever. But if there's no connection, dude, like, I'm gonna keep shitting on this fucking shoehorn storyline at this point, and I'm gonna keep doing reviews of that series, dude, because to me it's a bunch of bullshit entirely. Like, there's zero fucking reason to have any kind of a shoehorning storyline into anything at that point, dude, that makes zero sense and just distracts away from the actual viewership of the regular parts of the series that actually makes sense and people want to see it. It's like, give me more of that. Don't give me any of this shit over here, dude. I don't want to hear about this fucking crap over here, dude, because it doesn't make any sense. Like, give me stuff that actually makes sense with the rest of the fucking show is what it is. And honestly, I could almost say the same thing with the actual main Yellowstone story arcs and stuff like that, dude. Because even when they show the reservation on that show, like, I feel like there's a lot of shoehorning in that shit, dude. It's like, okay, I'm watching this whole thing of like them on the ranch and doing stuff and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, here's Native Americans at a reservation. I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? What the hell's going on here, man? And like, again, like, I just don't know if Tyler Sheridan just can't write for shit when it comes to like a transition between like the arcs of a fucking thing is what it is, dude, or what. But it, like, every single thing, it just feels like it doesn't make any sense, you know? And I'm not saying like everything with like the reservation doesn't make any sense, but like in the main series and stuff. But yeah, this shit right here in 1923 does, dude. It doesn't make any fucking sense at all, honestly, dude. It just feels very forced. It feels very like out of place. It feels like it's an entirely different show, honestly, in half the friggin' series so far in that episode. And it's like, where the hell are we going with this? And what the hell does this have to do with the Dutton family kind of thing, you know? Versus like these other two storylines that are obviously following, you know, John Dutton's ancestors and stuff is what it is, dude, and how they got to the prosperous place that made the Yellowstone Ranch what it was in the modern day history is what it is. So, I don't know. It just feels very off and off-putting, honestly, man. And like I said, I hate forced diversity. And that's the truth of the matter at the end of the day, dude. And I feel like that's exactly what this is at the end of the day. It's basically them trying to force in random shit that honestly should never have been part of this entire series at all, dude. And you would have had a way, way better series overall, dude. Because the thing is, even when you're talking about diversity from the perspective of stuff is what it is, dude, you actually have it in a bunch of white European people at that point, dude, because you have these sheep herders who are most likely from Scotland, I think is where it's at. You have Irish folks who are cattle ranchers, and you have other folks, like Harrison Ford's character, who are also cattle ranchers and stuff like that, who are, you know, some other, you know, background European nation, whatever it is, where their family's lineage originally came from, and now they've, you know, settled here in America and shit like that, and, you know, sort of became like first generation Americans is what it ended up being. And actually, even Helen Mirren's character, I believe, is supposed to be like hardcore Irish, is what it is, dude. And again, that makes sense, you know, right? Like, it makes logistical sense from that perspective of you have, you know, the old way being, you know, old European countries and stuff like that, where these people came from, or their families immigrated from, whatever it was, to still have like a feud basically going on there in, you know, the modern era that is 1923 at that time. And I feel like that's something people never talk about, dude, when they want to talk about diversity and stuff like that, and they want to talk about, you know, reparations and shit like that nowadays is what it is. They will never mention how there was a lot of white people shit on back in the day, man. A lot of time. Hell, you look at most old school gun control in this country, and it basically targeted every fucking white man getting off the fucking boats at that point, dude. It was Irish, it was Italian, it was everybody like that, dude. That were some of the people that were targeted for the first gun controls in this country. And it's like, that's just fucked up, man. Or it's like the same thing during, you know, segregation and stuff like that. Everybody always was like, oh, look at the signs there. It said no blacks or whatever the case be, or no colors or whatever it was. Yet there was also other signs that said no Irish. Literally, there were signs that said no blacks, no Irish, or no coloreds, no Irish. But nobody ever talks about the Irish. Nobody ever talks about the Irish being shit on. Nobody ever talks about my ancestors being shit on. You know? And I think that's one thing that pisses me off the most, honestly, is it's like, you know, from that perspective of things, it's like you got people who are like, oh, but all these people got fucking shit on in society or in life or whatever the case be, or their ancestral lines got shit on and stuff like that. And it's like, so did mine, motherfucker. So did everybody. Seriously. And that's the one great thing about this series particularly is Harrison Ford's one line in it where he's like talking to all the guys and stuff like that about like the locusts and stuff destroying all their grass and everything. And he's like, we're all in the same boat. And the one guy's like, nah, bro, because you got this big old mansion place over there and stuff like that. And he's just like, and then and then the guy's like talking shit or whatever. And he's like, how are your four going to deal with R12? And he's like, I don't care about the 11. I'm just going to deal with your ass. And like, I feel like that's exactly what happened a lot of those times, man, where you would just have some dude with a gun to his throat is what it was. And that's the thing, man. Back in those days, you didn't have people call the law. You didn't have people, whatever. Half the time, the people were the fucking law is what it was, dude, in some capacity or another. And, they dealt with shit themselves is what it was, dude. And obviously in the main Yellowstone series, it's basically the dudes are supposed to be working for the Bureau of Land Management, if I'm not mistaken, is what it is, as I forget exactly what the titles are that they have there. But what's interesting is you go back, in history, it's 1923 series, and it's the Livestock Commission that they're working for. And that's what they're basically the police of is what it is. It's the police of livestock is what it is. And that's obviously where BLM eventually came out of is what it was, the Bureau of Land Management, not the Black Lives Matter terrorist organization. But anyway, the entire point is, though, two storylines in this make sense. The one of the cattle feud / sheep feud in the Montana wilderness there, whatever it is, and the dude who is their family somehow in Africa hunting big cats. The third storyline of a random Native American school makes no sense. It makes zero fucking sense at all. And like I said, I really hope, honestly, like watching this show and having them drop more episodes and then maybe watching the entire series from like start to finish as like one big, binge block essentially, that maybe it'll make sense after that then. But I don't think it will. I think it's just going to be still looking like a bunch of shoehorn shit in the future, dude, honestly. Because it just feels like that, dude, honestly, right now. And I don't understand it, dude. Like, what was the fucking need for this? Is it because Tyler Sheridan wants to hook up with random native chicks is what it is? Because that would make sense, honestly. If that was the reason, man, I could totally buy that. I could 100% buy that. Him just trying to get a bunch of chicks like 18, 19, 20 on the fucking sets and stuff like that and just having like random like casting couches or something. Because hell, shit, half of Hollywood is that nowadays, dude. Like half the chicks that are in these Hollywood shows and stuff like that get their fucking start because of that, dude, because they're willing to go to some couch and bang some dude or blow some dude or whatever it is, dude. So I could totally get it from that perspective of stuff, if that be the case. Now, granted, do I think that's who Tyler Sheridan is? Probably not. I think he is a married man, too, by the way, so he would definitely be philandering then if that be the case against his wife. But the point I'm trying to make is, though, is the whole thing just feels weird and off. It just makes no logical sense at all. It doesn't actually bring anything to the fucking table, storyline-wise. And all it really shows is that, like, you have woman-on-woman violence and then man-on-woman violence. Like, that's all it's showing to me. If anything, what it seems like it was trying to show there is, like, oh, and this is why the Catholic Church is such a bunch of assholes or something like that. Like, no, that's not how it is at all, bro. Like, that's almost what it seriously felt like. It felt like they were trying to, like, they were essentially trying to shit on the Catholic Church in one part of it. And then the secondary part was, it was, again, the whole white guilt thing. And I'm like, you can fuck off with both of those things, motherfucker. When you got Hollywood embracing demonology at this point, dude, and Satanism and everything else like that, they can fuck off entirely with that crap, dude. So, I don't know. But like I said, hopefully it will, as the storyline progresses here, as we get more episodes of the show, it'll actually start to make sense, maybe. and it will show like the correlation between the main Native American chick who was getting her knuckles wrapped and stuff like that to where we're at in the future, whatever the case be, or what her connection would be to potentially, you know, descendants down the line in the main Yellowstone series. Because, like I said, I could easily see her being that Rainwater guy's like grandmother or mother or something like that, and then it being a situation of, like that's why he has such hatred and stuff like that is what it is now for people like John Dutton and shit. Like I could understand it from that perspective, maybe even if that's what it was. If this chick was like the mother or grandmother of his ass, and it was basically like her hatred for the white man, basically what it was, and she instilled that into him, kind of thing, is what it would be then. Like that would kind of make sense, honestly, at the end of the day, if it was something like that. But again, until we get more episodes and we understand that, maybe that's what it is leading to. As of right now, it just feels shoehorned. And that's all I'm just about at the end of the day. And like I said, for me personally, you take that entire storyline, that, 5-6 scene, whatever it was there, out of this episode. The rest of the episode was top notch, dude. I would have given it probably 10 out of 10, honestly, on that one without these scenes in it. Because it had this third storyline of this weird ass shoehorn scenes into it, dude. It's like maybe a 5 out of 10. Because you have so much distraction away from the main series arc that the secondary storyline like that completely fucking takes you out of the moment, is what it is, man. For no reason at all, other than it can, is what it is. And like I said, I'm not going to put up with that kind of crap, dude. That's just dumb. So, also, I would have liked to see this be an actual Paramount channel fucking series, not another damn subscription service show like fucking 1883 was. Also, Isabel May is a super hot piece of ass. She also does the voiceover in the first episode of this series as well, like she did in 1883 and stuff like that. And that girl, I think, is like 22 or something in real life. Like she's like 22 going on 23, maybe something like that. But yeah, she is definitely. I've talked to people about that before, and I said I would love to see Isabel May play a young Sue Storm in something, Invisible Woman and shit like that, or even like some other Marvel character for that matter. And I was actually thinking about that recently because I was talking to somebody the other day about Enid from that new Wednesday series, that chick that plays her character, and how she would make a good character in like a Power Pack teen, like a teen version of the Power Pack and stuff like that. And then some dude said something about how he was like, yeah, she would make a better version of like the younger sister or whatever the case be. And then I was thinking about that after the fact, because my original thought process was she would be a good Julie Power, not Katie Power. But now that I think about her being like a potential teenage Katie Power, the girl that plays Enid on Wednesday, I was thinking about Isabel May then. And I'm like, she would actually make a decent Julie Power for like a teenage Power Pack. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if something happens with that. I don't think it will, but you never know, man. And like I said, both of those chicks, though, for them respective actresses, the girl that played that Enid character and Isabel May that played in 1883 and stuff like that, they're both still young enough, because I believe, like I said, Isabel May is like 22, 23. The other girl's like, I think, 20. And they're both still young enough right now that they could have something if, some, superhero genre wanted to bring them into something, dude. Or even in that same vein of things, if it wasn't like Marvel or whatever, if it was like DC wanting to do something, dude, you could easily have both of them females be some pretty hardcore ass kickers and like, I don't know, like a fucking Young Justice or something like that kind of a series. Because we already have seen like Teen Titans and stuff like that as Titans now. And I could easily see them being brought in as like characters in the future season of that show or something like that, dude. Kind of like how Laura Vandervoot was in Smallville back in the day as Supergirl. Like I actually, come to think of it, I could see one of those chicks actually playing like a Supergirl, or maybe like a Wonder Girl or something like that, like, Cassandra Sandsmark or whatever. That would be pretty cool. So, yeah, actually, now I think about it, that would be a pretty good one, actually. Yeah, like maybe like Isabel May as like Wonder Girl or something like that. That'd be pretty sweet. So, anyway, who knows, man? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, like I said, huge fan of that chick, and overall, I would say about 75% of 1923 is worth watching for this first episode. The other like 25-ish%, I'm not exactly sure the breakdown of it. I'm just gonna cut it into a quarter at this point. Honestly, that was like the Native American scenes basically are basically skippable scenes entirely, dude. They don't really bring anything substantial to the table, and it's literally just some chick in a Native American girls' school being taught, I don't know, how to be like a proper woman or something, I guess is what it would be. Because, like I said, with that one scene with the other chick, they were talking about like getting husbands or something at some point. So, I mean, I'm guessing that's what it has to do with. It would be like, okay, we need you to be like a proper chick or whatever, or a proper woman or whatever of the day, and subservient to like a man or whatever. If that'd be the case, maybe that's what the whole point of it was, to be like fuck the patriarchy or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess maybe like that would kind of make sense. And then you're like showing like the priest guy as like the patriarchy because he's like beating the shit out of people is what it is. But then you also have the nun who's beating the shit out of people. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like, again, it feels so fucking forced is what it is, dude. And like I'm like honestly, the more I talk about it, the more confused I get on like what the hell the point of it actually was, or was there even one? Because like I said, personally, from my own personal opinion, watching this episode of this show twice now, I still don't get it. I still don't understand why it was even there, dude. Like, it just felt completely unnecessary to even have it be part of that. And the whole show, besides that, was flowing smoothly otherwise. So, take your pick. Forced diversity, attacking the patriarchy, fucking white guilt. Who the fuck knows, man? There's a couple other ones too that I can't really think of offhand because I'm starting to get tired in my mind is what it is, because it is like, almost 7 a.m. right now. So, but yeah, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But the whole thing just felt very, very off to me. It feels off. It felt off. And it was just completely unneeded. Like, honestly, it was a complete waste of time to throw it in there is what it is. But, yeah, we'll be back later. I'll probably do a grandstand or something in the next couple days or so. I plan on shooting some stuff this coming weekend, so we may have a chat of some kind during the weekend for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, somewhere in there. But other than that, like I said, about 3/4 of the actual episode of 1923 so far for episode 1 is worth watching. The other part is just, I don't understand what the fuck this is, and makes no logical sense, and is basically shoehorned into the series, it seems like. So, take it for what you will. I would still say watch the entire episode and see it for yourself and see how it basically shows the insertion of itself, really, is what it is. Because it's not like the scenes are like honestly like bad to like watch or whatever, but it just feels like very much like, what the hell is going on here, kind of a thing. Why are you showing this entire scene and taking us all to a different place now or whatever, kind of a deal. So yeah, the whole thing just felt very, very much like like it was almost like somebody on a car trip and they take a wrong turn or something like that, and this is where they end up at then or whatever, dude. It's like they were supposed to take a right, and then instead they took a left or whatever, and they took another left, and now they're in like some weird ass like place they have no idea how to get back from, and so they just sort of like, okay, well, just keep going, keep going, keep going, and then eventually they just take like a hard right, and now you're back at like square one, essentially, is what it would be. So I don't know, man. Like, it very much just feels odd as fuck, and I think that's what they're going for, maybe. but who the hell knows? But either way, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the rest of the show, though. See if this is actually resolved at some point or not, or if it's just a big ass waste of time, like I think it is. And yeah, we'll go from there. Basically, is what it ends up being. So, you know, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Really, is what it is in this situation. And I feel like 100%, the show just felt off. Is what it was, dude. It felt very off. Feels very off-putting as well on that one. And yeah, I have no idea what the fuck, man. Like, it just feels very much like, why are you doing this stuff? Why are you doing this stuff? Although, to be fair, and before we head out for the day, this is not obviously a grandstand or anything. We're going to talk about this actual article I'm going to mention later on in one of those, probably later today. But when I say things feel off and inserted into shows and stuff like that, it's just like this stupid bullshit right here. TV abortion plotlines skyrocket as Hollywood doubles down on Roe versus Wade outrage. And maybe that's what it is, dude. Maybe that's what it is. They're just trying to shoehorn shit into the Yellowstone series and think people aren't going to notice. But it's like, what are you even trying to shoehorn in? Is my question. Because from what I'm looking at on that one, like, I don't understand kind of a thing. And when I'm having to, like, you know, sort of just like make assumptions of stuff now and like be like, oh, are they trying to attack like what they consider to be like a patriarchy kind of thing? Or is it trying to be them trying to fucking, you know, throw like a bunch of white guilt at us? Is it trying to be like something else entirely? Or is it actually going to make a point at some point and they're going to have like one of these characters from this Indian school sort of shift their way into the Dutton family somehow or another? Because I could see that being the case right now. I could easily see that being a thing right now where it's sometime down the line or whatever the case be, like, who actually, that would make sense if you think about it. Now I thought about that right now, is who the fuck's to say that the chick from the Native American school doesn't get knocked up by one of the Dutton ancestors and has a child, and then that child is the mother of Thomas Rainwater. And it turns out this entire time that Rainwater guy is actually John Dutton's like fourth or fifth cousin legitimately through blood. Because that would be kind of fucked up, right? And knowing Tyler Sheridan, I could see him like doing some weird fucked up shit like that, dude, where it's just like you don't get where it's going, and then all of a sudden it's like, seriously, bro, like that's what you were trying to do this whole fucking time? And it was essentially just a way for them to like zip it all the way back to like the main series kind of a deal or whatever the case be, and make it like essentially like a linchpin kind of hook in, if you will, or whatever. Like I could easily see that being the thing, honestly, right now, dude. Like to me, that would actually make sense now that I think about it. But again, if it's not going to lead to something like that, then it's like, well, then what the hell's the point of the storyline then? So, you know, it is what it is. But I feel like I've covered this and then some in this 45 minutes almost. So I'm going to just stop talking and call it for this one. Because, like I said, particularly this whole thing just feels very, very, very odd and really doesn't make any sense unless you're trying to push like some kind of an agenda. And I really have no idea what that agenda is right now, dude. Because it could be like one of like 10 different things, really, is what it is. And it's just like, you know, pick your poison at that point. And I have no idea which poison is which, kind of a thing on that one. So I don't fucking know. But one thing I am looking forward to at some point in the future is the third season of Black Summer, and I hope it happens pretty soon here in 2023, honestly, dude. Because that's a good show, and I would really like to see what the fuck happened after the second season with the dude who was the ex-cop and stuff like that, getting almost blown to smithereens. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, and you know, see if they continue on the storyline with Sun and actually her being able to talk to some dude for the first time in years and shit, who both speak the same language and shit. So yeah, who knows? But anyway, it'll also be very interesting to see what happens with the Walking Dead spinoffs in the future, because just how they ended that series was some of the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. So, hopefully it's a situation there where we actually know what the fuck's happening there. Actually, I was talking to somebody last night too about the actual Yellowstone series, and I said, I think I actually get how they're probably going to end the show at some point, or if Tyler Sheridan wants to go that route, like he could easily use that as like the finale kind of thing or whatever for it, whenever he feels like stop making shows or whatever, for like the main series. And it would essentially be the train station, the place where they dump everybody's dead bodies and stuff. You could essentially just have them out somebody, and then that person outs everybody is what it is, and be like, oh, well, all these people here have been dumping bodies there every fucking year all the time is what it is, bro. And they've been doing this for decades, kind of a thing. And then you just have like 50 people that have gone missing that were like drifters and stuff like that worked as like ranch hands at the Yellowstone, be identified as like people that used to work for the Yellowstone. And then you just have like Dutton and the entire family go to like federal prison or something like that for the rest of their lives or some shit. And that's how the show basically would end then or whatever. Like, that would be an interesting ending, honestly, if that's how they ended it, honestly, right now, dude. But I don't know if they'll go that route or not, because to me, that would almost be like a cop-out ending as well. Because it's like, okay, it's just been right there this whole time kind of a thing, and you're just deciding to use it now or whatever. So, but yeah, I could easily see them factoring that particular place into a future story arc or something like that, maybe in the main series. Or even in that same vein of things with 1923 and stuff. Perhaps that becomes like the original ground or something like that people use to like toss like a dead guy off of or whatever it is, because nobody's ever going to find his ass. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see though. That would be interesting to see if did they make that correlation between the main series and like the 1923 series or something. But anyway, like I said, I pretty much enjoyed the first episode of 1923, with the exception of that weird shoehorn storyline. Everything else was great, honestly, dude. Even the shoehorn storyline, like, because they gave it enough scenes in it and stuff like that. Like, I can see that it's like starting to build towards something. I just don't know what at this point, and it'll be interesting to see what exactly it will be. And like I said, personally, I'm hoping it's something where episode 2 or 3 has it be a correlation to the Dutton family then, and have, like I said, perhaps this chick be mother slash grandmother of that rainwater guy. And then it's basically, oh, he's actually part Dutton or whatever then, because that would make sense. That to me would actually make sense, because essentially it would be you're actually fighting your like cousin this entire time, not even realizing it, because this guy thinks he's like 100% like, Cherokee or whatever the fuck it would be at that point then, or Blackfoot or something like that. Even though he's not, he's like, a quarter of that thing, and or half that thing, whatever it is, depending on if it's mom or grandma that was the one that was the Native American chick to begin with at the school. So he's either like half or a quarter, and then the other part is just some white dude or whatever that was a Dutton family member, or maybe not even a Dutton family member, but like one of their ranch hands or something like that back in the day. Like, I could see that one being a case too as well. So yeah, who knows, man. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with it. Like I said, because of how it cliffhangered, I'm not going to say how it cliffhangered, but if you've watched it, you know how it cliffhangers. I am looking very forward to seeing what happens in episode 2 of this series, and seeing exactly how we get there. And, if people like who exactly is going to be the family man that survives and stuff like that, to see his kids all grown up and stuff, which I'm pretty sure it's John Dutton Sr. at this point, but who the fuck actually knows? So anyway, till later. I will see you guys in the next one.